Hello there everyone, this is Ma'am Rachel Ann and you are watching Media and Information Literacy Lesson 3. Our topic for today is entitled Information Literacy. Let's have our objectives. By the end of this lesson, you shall be able to define information needs, be able to locate, access, assess, organize, and communicate information, and demonstrate ethical use of information, and compare potential sources of media and information. To start our lesson, let me ask you a question. Who is the most influential person in your life? Can you tell me more about that person? Ito ba ay iyong magulang, kaibigan, classmate, guro, o isang artista? So, subukan niyong sagutin ito. The who, what, where, when, why, and how. You may pause this video and write down your answers in your notebook. Okay, so I'll assume that you are already done. Now, what do you think is the purpose of these questions? Why is it important to answer these 5 W's and 1 H? We use who to identify the person, what to know about something, where to locate a place, when to know the specific time and date, why to state the reason, and how in order to know the way or the manner in which things are done. These questions are all used to gather information. So ano nga ba yung information? It is the data that has been collected, processed, and interpreted in order to be presented in a usable form. And according naman sa UNESCO, it is a broad term that can cover processed data, knowledge derived from study, experience, instruction, signals, or symbols. Ngayon, sa ating media world, kadalasang ginagamit ang information to describe the knowledge of specific events or situations that has been gathered or received by communication, intelligence, or news reports. Now, why do we need information? You may also write down your answers as we discuss. So, ilan sa mga reasons ay, of course, to be updated with the news. Ayan lagi ang kailangan natin. We need information because we want to be up to date sa mga nagaganap sa ating bansa at sa mundo. Another one is for learning or education purposes, katulad nyo ngayon. Next is for communication, and also to acquire knowledge needed for decision making. Ayan, sa lahat ng mga desisyon natin, diba, hindi tayo dapat magpapadalos-dalos dahil magko-consult muna tayo sa information na available bilang guide sa atin. Now, where do we search for information? Siguro most of you ay through the internet na naghahanap. Or yung iba, possibly sa TV. Another one is sa newspaper. May nagbabasa pa ba ng dyaryo sa inyo? Or pati ang news ay binabasa na sa Twitter or Facebook. We can also search for information in radio stations, mostly sa mga AM radio. And also sa libraries through books and other literature na meron dito. Moving forward, how do we acquire and store information? Pwede nating isulat, i-print, photocopy, kuhanan ng picture, i-download, i-save sa ating cloud storage, i-record, i-save sa external memory drives and memory cards yung information na ating na-acquire. And then, how will you determine the quality and accuracy of the information that you have? Of course, you should check if the information comes from a reputable source, such as an institution. Now, how do you use the information that you have? You may use the information by sharing it, applying, announcing, posting, archiving. It may serve as a reminder, an answer to a query, or even clarify a confusion that you have. And lastly, how will we communicate that information? It may be in the form of announcement, text, a post on social media, or communicated during a face-to-face session, a note, chat, email, or through a file. So, if you answered with me as we go along the video, those are the stages or elements of information literacy. Pwede natin itong i-consider as the elements that make up an individual's information literacy. But pwede rin naman natin itong isipin as the stages because they can be the steps through which one can become information literate. Let us define information literacy. Information literacy is a set of individual competencies needed to identify, evaluate, and use information in the most ethical, efficient, and effective way across all domains, occupations, and professions. So ito, tinutukoy rin ito yung ability ng isang tao na malaman kung kailan kailangan ng isang information as well as kung paano ito maayos na i-evaluate, gamitin, and i-communicate sa iba't ibang format. Again, here are the 7 stages or elements of information literacy. So, itong stages or elements of information literacy ay possibly matagal nyo nang ginagawa, lalo na sa subject nyo sa research. So, you may consider this as we list down all the stages. The first stage is the identifying or recognizing information needs. So, we have mentioned earlier the different reasons why we need information and isa na nga rito yung education. Next, determining sources of information. Sa research nyo ba ngayon, saan kayo naghahanap ng information? Possibly sa mga online publications and journals din kayo naghahanap. But as we have discussed kanina, marami tayong sources. Third, citing or searching for information. So this answers yung question natin kanina na how do we access information? Fourth, analyzing and evaluating the quality of information. Dito na natin ginagawa yung process ng fact-checking and pag-verify sa sources kung credible ba ito. Fifth, organizing, storing, or archiving information. Nandito na yung pagko-compile and pag-organize ng information na nakuha natin through the use of the different tools na meron tayo. Then, using information in an ethical, efficient, and effective way. Dito pumapasok naman yung pag-abide natin sa mga ethical rules na meron tayo, lalo na sa cases ng plagiarism. So, we always include our references or do paraphrasing. And lastly, creating and communicating new knowledge. So, ito na yung stage kung saan sinishare na natin sa tao through different formats yung information na na-acquire natin. In the case of your research paper, ito na yung pagpapublish or pagpapresent ng paper in public. Moving forward, what determines your need for information? Let's talk about the typology of information. According to Old Dominion University, the kind of information you are looking for may be categorized as the following. Number 1, factual versus analytical. So when we say that an information is factual, it means that it is based on evidences and findings provided by reliable sources. Ito yung information na nagdi-deal lang talaga with facts alone. Usually, ito ay maikli lang, self-explanatory, and bihira itong nagbibigay ng in-depth na background sa isang topic. For example, Dr. Jose Rizal is the national hero of the Philippines. So this is a fact that we could find in factual resources like encyclopedias, almanacs, government resources, etc. On the other hand, when we say analytical, it is an interpretation of facts by an individual, usually an expert on a subject. Ayan. So makikita natin dito yung connection ng dalawa. When a factual information is interpreted by an expert, then it becomes an analytical information. Sinasagot nito yung mga questions like, what does the factual information mean? What does it imply? Ito yung type of information na generate ng mga researchers in their studies. Kagaya sa research subjects nyo, once you have gathered the data, You interpret it and it becomes an analytical information. Here is an example. According to a 2016 survey, pests are more frightening than zombies. So makikita natin dito, it is based on a survey and from there, nag-come up sila sa isang interpretation. Saan ba natin mahanap ang mga analytical information? Pwede natin itong makita from the scholarly journals, academic and scholarly books, library databases, and some scholarly websites. Number 2, subjective versus objective. For sure, alam nyo na ito mga anak. When we say subjective, it comes from only one point of view. Kaya yung mga opinion natin, it is always subjective. Makikita natin ito sa mga websites, blogs, lalo na sa social media, non-scholarly books, journals, and book reviews. A good example for this is yung editorial section natin sa newspaper. Nandito yung mga opinion ng mga writers and yung stand ng editorial board in a particular issue. Meanwhile, objective information is unbiased and does not lead you to judge the information in a certain way. Ito yung information na nagrepresent ng lahat ng sides sa isang argument and naiintindihan from multiple viewpoints. Kaya sa mga exam, hindi ba, usually ang questions ay objective and pagdating naman sa news, dapat ay objective rin ito, walang bias. Examples of objective resources are the following: books, journal articles, newspapers, library databases. Next, let's have current versus historical information. Current refers to how up-to-date or how recent the information is. So kung kailangan nating malaman kung latest na yung information, we may refer to the following. Of course, sa mga newspapers, since ito ay published kung hindi daily, weekly. Meron din tayong tinatawag na periodicals na published weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually. Madalas din ito sa mga informative na magazines. And syempre sa web, kasi dito, ang publication ay continuous. Usually nga, mas madalas pang i-update ng mga organization ang kanilang mga website compared sa mga publications nila. Now, when we say historical naman, humanity subjects primarily use this type of information to describe an event or phenomenon. So, kung di ka naman particular sa publication date ng isang information and gusto mo lang makakuha ng overview sa isang certain event, you may consult the encyclopedia. And if you want an information from a historic time period, kung gusto mo ng overview or global perspective from a topic, then you may consult the libraries that have historical materials, databases, or yung mga archives. Fourth, let's have scholarly versus popular. The type of information is scholarly if it is a product of an author's expertise and study on the subject matter. And popular naman if it appeals to general interest and usually found in general circulation materials. Isa sa mga example ng scholarly sources ay yung mga journals na ginagamit natin as reference sa ating research studies. Yung content ng mga ito ay naka-align talaga for in-depth research. Makikita natin na gumagamit ito ng jargons or yung specialized na vocabulary tungkol sa isang topic. And makikita natin na yung reference and citations dito ay very extensive. Dumadaan kasi yung mga materials dito sa tinatawag nating peer review para ma-ensure na reliable and valid ang findings ng isang study. Basically, scholarly sources offer the answers sa tanong na, so what? Sa isang topic kasi hindi lang ito basta-basta nagle-lay ng foundation but also it establishes connections between variables, issues, or events. Now, sa popular sources naman, kung ang scholarly ay yung ating iceberg, kumbaga, itong popular naman ay yung tip pa lang ng iceberg. It is intended for general audience and applied dito yung purposes of the author na to entertain, inform, or persuade. It only helps you answer then who, what, when, and where na essential sa mga current events or issues. Though research-oriented ang ibang mga popular sources, it lacks citations na mag-o-offer sana sa readers ng further reading. And yung iba ring popular sources ay catered only to special interest or agenda-driven publications. Next, let's have primary versus secondary versus tertiary. I know most of you are already familiar with this since naturo na ito sa inyong mga English subjects. As a review, primary information is an original and first-hand information that hasn't been interpreted, analyzed, or changed. In terms of sources, ito yung mismong taong naka-witness or nakaranas ng isang event or phenomenon. And yung secondary naman, it is one or more steps removed from a primary source and it may interpret or analyze a primary source. Dito papasok yung mga commentaries or histories and etc. And then, tertiary sources naman usually include bibliographies of primary and secondary sources. These sources index, organize, or compile other sources. Lastly, we have stable versus unstable sources. Stable sources cannot be edited while unstable sources can be edited. During this digital age, paano kaya natin malalaman kung stable ang isang online sources? So, according to Ballinger 2009, online source may be predicted as stable if it satisfies the following. Has it been around for a long time? Is it routinely updated? Are print versions on an online document available? Is the site associated with a reputable institution? So if you are feeling uncertain about that online source after answering these questions, then maybe it is time for you to consider the other types of sources that we have. Sources may also be in the form of indigenous knowledge and media. It was said that this is the knowledge that is unique to a given culture or society. Usually, ito ay nagpapasa-pasa through people media or indigenous media. This enhances one's national identity. Moreover, ito yung any form of media that is created and controlled in the community. So, pwede nating balikan dito yung mga examples natin last time, lalo na sa prehistoric age. But also, it can be in the form of oral tradition of communication or yung mga stored information in memories. So, indigenous knowledge and media ang pwede natin i-consult especially if we want information about something na nangyari noong mga panahon na wala pa tayong system of storing information. Moving forward, we have the physical materials in archives. An example for this is the library, which serves as the repository of information. Before the pandemic, may mahilig bang magpunta sa mga library sa inyo? Pwedeng sa school library or sa city library natin. So the main role of the library is to organize and provide you access to information. And hindi na lang basta physical books and literature ang meron sa mga library. It is now extended in acquiring new modes of providing information such as the use of digital facilities that utilize media. Mapapansin natin ngayon na most libraries ay may mga Wi-Fi and computers na rin. And now, let's discuss the pros and cons of the different types of media as sources of information. You may answer along with me by writing the pros and cons in your notebook. First, magazines and newspapers. Pros, of course, they are affordable. Lalo na ang newspapers, 20 pesos pa rin bang dyaryo ngayon? And they are portable. Most of all, they endure kaya nga hanggang ngayon ay patuloy pa rin ang circulation ng mga ito. When it comes to the cons, expensive storage since they tend to pile up. Next, costly typesetting and design. So makikita natin ito lalo na sa mga magazines. Usually 100 pesos and above ang magazines because yung kind ng paper and yung colors na gamit nila ay very stylish but costly. And the greatest cons ay ang environmental issues since ang mga paper natin ay gawa sa trees. Now, let's move on to the radio. One of the pros is that it reaches many demographics, marunong man magbasa or hindi, and it can be entered in local and international media. Yung mga lolo and lola natin siguro mahilig makinig sa mga radyo or yung mga radio drama na catered sa kanila. Sa mga kotse, baka yung mga mommy and daddy nyo ay naka-tune in naman sa balita sa radyo. And kayo, siguro ay nakikinig kayo sa mga international pop music mula sa mga sikat na FM station sa atin. However, ang cons naman nito ay yung kawalan ng attention natin sa information na binibigay ng radio. Usually, ito ay ginagawa lang nating background, hindi ba? And isa rin sa disadvantage ay yung maraming commercials or advertisement na meron dito. So, nawawala yung attention natin sa balita or important announcement. Next, let's have the World Wide Web or yung mga website. Ang advantage nito ay marami naman sa mga website ay mga credible sources. And bilang ito ay nasa internet, mabilis ang pag-spread ng reliable information. However, when the website is catered for advertising, napapagastos tayo kasi nandun yung mga promos and yung is na rin ng pag-check out. Ayan, I'm sure maraming relate sa inyo rito. And lastly, we have the social media. Ang pros nito, alam naman natin na dahil dito ay lagi tayong available sa isa't isa, 24/7. Nandito rin ang easy access natin sa iba't ibang types of media kagaya ng emails, webinars, etc. Mabilis din natin natatanggap ang feedback, parang kasama na rin natin yung kausap natin. Pagdating naman sa disadvantages, we all know na ang social media ay very time-consuming. 1 minute ay nagbasa ka lang ng isang chat sa'yo pero maya-maya ay nasa TikTok or YouTube ka na. Another one is of course yung pagkalat ng fake news. Kaakibat ito ng is na binibigay ng social media. So yung information or facts ay nasa-set aside dahil hindi ito nagva-viral. Lastly, when it comes to communication, it does not capture the tone. Minsan ay akala mo galit pa lang iyong kausap. Yun pala ay mahinahon niya naman itong tinatype. Ito nga yung isa sa mga barriers of online communication. Now that we have discussed the need for information, the 7 stages or elements of information literacy, the typology of information, and lastly, we have compared the potential sources of media and information, kayo kaya, based on your own understanding, what is information literacy? Let me leave you with this answer. Ang information ay parang isang buffet table lang. Tayong mga tao ay merong hunger for knowledge na syempre ay nangangailangan ng nourishment. However, pagdating natin sa buffet table of information, bilang isang information literate na tao, hindi tayo basta-basta kukuha ng information kahit na ito pa ay appetizing. Dahil meron tayong information literacy, we know what and how to select relevant and credible information according to our needs.
The way we create and consume information has changed significantly in recent years. Today, more than half of the world's population, including over 70% of all youth globally, are online. But how can we make sure that all information is used for public good? To promote dialogue and respect, support SDGs and democracy, and empower lifelong learners, instead of breeding hate speech, disinformation, fake news, and privacy violations. Media and information literacy is designed to combat these challenges and enable people to better benefit from positive opportunities. It gives individuals the skills to interpret and understand information, to think critically and click wisely, both on and offline. So, individuals can spot misinformation and engage positively in society. It's not just a framework, but a foundation to live by. To help make sense of ever-changing information-based influences by becoming media and information literate citizens, we are empowered to make the right choices. Learn more about media and information literacy and how it can support citizens to think critically and click wisely, on and offline.
And that concludes our discussion for today. Again, this is Ma'am Rachel Ann, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, everyone!